When words can no longer express the depth of our emotions or feelings, it is the magic of art, color and light that can break down barriers in communication. Art, after all, is the language of the soul. It's a tool leading us to our higher selves and revealing to us the essence and purpose of our lives.
A couple of years ago, when I was doing marriage counseling, I realized that I needed to find a way where people could express their emotions without using words. My background is that I learned through Rudolf Steiner's approach to art therapy, so I use it in marriage counseling. I find it very dynamic to use it with couples who don't really understand each other anymore. Communication is broken down, so they actually communicate to each other through drawing and by seeing each other's drawings, and that actually breaks down barriers. I start to learn that people store certain colors and certain images in the certain chakra points, because the consciousness levels of each chakra is telling us where the person's issues are and related to what kind of obstacles. And they are actually already drawing it out themselves. So the idea behind the course is also that people actually interpret their own work. And that's actually the aim, that people start to recognize that they have an inner language, which I call the language of light, which is a true language. It's not distorted by words. We interpret words differently. But when you look at a drawing and you look at it from a point of view of what energy does the drawing have, what feeling do I get from the drawing, then you get the answer, and that is a quality. So the art analog drawing is to bring the language of light into our consciousness. If I mention, go into your meal, what was the fragrance of the food, that will trigger the color in them. That they will access that imagination, because to them, now I know what color it is. They couldn't really relate to the imagery, but they could relate to the color, to the fragrance, or to the sound. What was it, or the taste, the texture. And then some people say, texture, oh. And then suddenly, aha, now they know the color. So it's actually that I blend them together, the five senses. That's why I use a meal. Exercises are done in such a way that I can focus on all those details. The five senses, I take them through the 5 creative stages, so they can in themselves realize if they have an idea, how do they manifest that idea? Why is something not happening? Why are doors closing? The doors are not closing. There's certain files that has to be brought into being. And it's through the course that you actually start to understand yourself. I think that the people who come to the course are people who actually want to know why they are on the planet. Why? They're questioning why, what they came to do. I call it what is their soul purpose. The soul purpose really is to actually bring soul into the physical experience. I introduce them to the idea that there is a language out there that the soul is familiar with. And it has to be brought into our physical experience. We all know it already. I'm not teaching anyone anything new. I'm actually breaking barriers in communication. You can never really discover the real soul. Each soul is different, but it's important that each person themselves understand themselves. We all have a magnificent divine souls. It's just a matter how much is incarnated at that moment, how much is partaking, whatever words I use. Each person can interpret that different. And that's the idea, to actually bring more of soul in. And through this drawing, that's actually an invitation. When people are in a group, that's why it's important to be in a group. There are always some who are not so fearful, and when they see others draw, they calm down a bit and they do their own thing. So that sometimes helps as well. Some people take 1 or 2 classes to get into it, but the artwork that was done is by people who are not artists, but they are, but they only don't recognize it. Everyone is. I introduced them to the idea that we all came in with a toolbox of qualities and characteristics or qualities, especially of the soul, that we decide to take with us. Each person, each soul has all the tools, but they decided maybe at a certain level of their lifetime, maybe when they reach 30 or 40, to suddenly bring this in. That was already almost chosen before. I take the people through the classroom of the chakras, and they start to recognize what tools did they bring in, and why their lives at those stages were easier and why it was difficult. And that opens a floodgate of understanding, aha moments within themselves. We have to activate the language of light, which is the language of the soul. You can't control how the world outside is reacting to you, but you can control your reaction to it. And that's our power.